An absolutely beautiful day greeted fans and racers for the 27th annual Mr. Supermodified and the 22nd annual Mr. Pathfinder Bank SBS. And the SBS cars would take to the racetrack first for their qualifying heat races, with Josh Kerr and Timmy Garou up there on row number 1 for qualifying heat number 1. And it would be Kerr and the Dennis Rupert number 99 pulling out into the early race lead, as the rest of the field came stringing down the back straightaway and into corner number 3. Great battles going on throughout this one. Further back in the pack, as you can see, Cameron Rowe, Craig Harrith, J.J. Andrews, and Mike Bond all going at it. Only 6 cars would qualify out of each heat race event to the main event, and right now Mike Bond was on the outside looking in, trying to find his way by the Andrews number 93 so that he would not have to go to the consolation. But unfortunately for Bond, he would be unable to do so. Meanwhile, out in front, Josh Kerr, car number 8, would go on to victory here in Pathfinder Bank SBS qualifying heat number 1 over Dennis Rupert and Tim Garou. Qualifying heat race number 2 for the SBS division would see Danny Apt in the 57 and Jack Patrick in the Longley Dodge, car number 9 on the outside of row number 1, and Danny Apt already has a heat race win this year, pulled out in front early on out of corner number 2 and down the back straightaway, but he would overdrive corner number 3, pushes high in the apex. That leaves the low lane open for the Patrick machine to find his way by to take the top spot. Down the front straightaway and into corner number 1 as AJ Burness would try to follow his way through, running in front of Andrew Schartner. Well, Schartner was trying to make a jump through the field, pulls to the high side of Burness into that third corner, and that leaves the lane open to the low side for the 13 of Russ Brown, as Brown pulls to the low side into corner number 1, trying to pull Brian Sobis in car number 6 along with him down the back straightaway. But Sobis was unable to tuck to the back bumper. That would allow Schartner to slip back into line. Well, Brown would not stop there. Next, he moves to the low side of Burness down the front stretch. Schartner squeezes his way in there through as well. Burness trying to tuck back in line would actually tag the right rear bumper of the Schartner number 18, cutting the left front tire down on the Burn Dairy number 24 machine. Burness also would have to head to the consolation in this one. But out in front, all on his own, Jack Patrick in that number 9 machine would go on to heat race number 2 victory over Danny Apt and Russ Brown.
Car was good. We had a little bit of a miss in warm-ups tonight with the motor, but Doug Holmes been helping me out here tonight, and we seem to got it taken care of in the heat, so we'll see what happens in the feature. Hopefully everything will go good.
SBS qualifying heat race number 3 would see Anthony Lacerdo in car number 1 and Mike Bruce in the 22 on the outside of row number 1. Bruce was actually competing in the HRW Construction number 79 car, renumbered as 22 after he blew the motor in that machine earlier in the day. Bruce started to the outside of row number 1 and looked very good in that race car right from the drop of the green flag. He was unable, though, to make any headway on Lacerdo, as the young 15-year-old would streak across the start-finish line for heat race win number 2 of the year for the number 1.
It was good. The only person that was really pressuring me was Bruce, but other than that, the car was on a rail pretty much. Just looking for a couple good finishes this year. That was our first top 10 last week, getting second, so a couple more finishes up front would be awesome.
Novelis Supermodified heat racing would be the next order of business, with Brian Sweeney and Tim Devendorf up there on row number 1. Lou LeVay Sr. and Dave Danzer would line up right there in row 2, and it would be Devendorf in car number 5 pulling out into the early race lead, as Sweeney and Danzer would slide into second and third. The battle would be further back between Dave Gruhl in the number 50 machine and Jeff Abold in the 05 as they look for racing room past the LeVay number 66. And eventually Gruhl was able to find the low side out of corner number 4 to slip into line. The number 21 of Ray Graham would follow through as well. Graham in his first Novelis Supermodified action of the season, subbing for his son Cody in the 21 machine. This race would go green to checkered, with Devendorf getting the win over Sweeney in that number 3 machine. Danzer would come home in third, with Gruhl rounding out the top 4 handicap qualifying positions.
Definitely want better by 1 position. 10,000 wins a big race, and be good to get our first one there. That would be good. We do have a good car, and we have to be there at the end, so we got a good starting spot, so we'll see how it goes, and we'd love to be there.
Supermodified Heat Race number 2 featured Danny Connors in the 01 and Michael Muldoon in the 51. Up there in row number 1, Clayton Brewer and Michael Barnes would start right there in row number 2. As you see the 55 machine, that is Keith Champagne. Back once again behind the wheel of the Chris Osetic number 55. Champagne looked very good early on, making the high side move on Clayton Brewer to get up into that handicapped 4th qualifying position. Checkered flag in the air. Danny Connors, the Paul's Big M, car number 01, would run away with Heat Race number 2 victory over Muldoon, Barnes, and Champagne.
Oh, the car was pretty good for the heat. I mean, we weren't sure how it was going to be. We were struggling in practice a little bit, but I think that was all old tires and made a lot of changes and kind of gambled for the heat, and it works out pretty good. But you know, you're not here to win the heat; you're here to win the feature. So we're kind of trying to figure out where to go from here, and I mean that's hard to say every week. So we'll see what we can do. Well, it'd be great to win this race. I mean, just the fact of winning alone is good, and you know, winning 10 grand definitely helps with our year we've been having. Struggling a little bit this year with motor problems, and put a lot of money into it this year, so that would definitely help us out.
Tonight's final qualifying heat race saw Brandon Bellinger and Timmy Snyder on row number 1, Jerry Curran and Pat Lavery right there in that second row. You see further back, Otto Sitterly in the 7 machine started in position number 5, trying to work his way up into the front 4 early on, and he would be able to do so right away as Curran slipped just a little bit coming out of corner number 2. That allowed the 7 machine to get up and around to the outside. Brandon Bellinger and his team did a great job getting this race car back together after their accident 2 weeks ago, running laps of 16.8 seconds on his way to victory over Snyder, Lavery, and Sitterly.
Yes, it is good. It's probably a product of all these guys and how hard they worked. I know we spent a lot of time making parts and pieces, and we unloaded off the trailer today, and the car was pretty good. We haven't really adjusted a heck of a lot of anything, so it's probably a testament to how hard everybody worked and how good they were getting the car back to where it was. So that would be pretty cool. I can't be too choosy. I'm just looking for my first, but the big paycheck, that's always pretty cool, and to have that title, that's something pretty special you can hold on to for a year.
The countdown to Budweiser Classic Week is on at Oswego Speedway. Saturday, August 10th, it's JP Jewelers Night at the Races, featuring the second Entergy Driver Autograph Session, plus help support ovarian cancer awareness. It's all this coming Saturday as we continue to count down to Budweiser Classic Week. It's JP Jewelers Night at the Races this Saturday at Oswego Speedway. Inside Oswego Speedway is brought to you by Novelis. Not just aluminum, Novelis aluminum. Pathfinder Bank, local community trust. Eagle Beverage, we bring the beer to you. Oswego Bike Fest, riding, rocking, and racing Oswego Speedway. And by Best Western Plus Quality Inn and Suites of Oswego. The 35-lap Mr. Pathfinder Bank SBS Series main event would see Dennis Rupert in the 99 and Josh Kerr in car number 8 starting up there in row number 1. And Kerr would get a great jump off the green flag from the outside of row number 1 to tuck into the race lead. Ahead of Rupert, Danny Apt and Anthony Lacerdo, as the field does battle down the back straightaway, but going into corner number 3, Jack Patrick pulls down to the low side. Guru and Lacerdo would touch wheels, and the young 15-year-old is stuck to the outside of the 3rd corner. Lacerdo would head to pit lane, but did rejoin the field. On the restart, Kerr got a little sideways out of corner number 4. That gave Rupert the advantage in the 99 that he needed to pull out into the early race lead, pulling Danny Apt and the 14 of Jeremy Pitcher along with him down the back straightaway. But just prior to completing lap number 1, Apt would find the low lane down the front stretch to take the race lead from Rupert into corner number 1. With Pitcher looking to do the same, he eventually would do so, showing the line for the Mike Bruce number 22. As he tried to peek to the low side going into corner number 1, that would give him the run he needed off the 2nd corner. As Bruce pulls down low on Rupert into corner number 3, Bruce now up into 3rd, but Carew tags the back bumper of the Rupert 99. That stacks up everybody further back, including Kerr, the 67 of Dave Cliff, and the 74 of Mike Bond, as all three cars would touch the foam down there in the third corner. The restart would put Rupert back ahead of Bruce, but it didn't take long for the 22 once again to find the low lane and move up into that third spot one more time, shuffling Rupert back through the field as Brian Sobis in the 6 car is the last of a freight train of machines to make their way by in that circuit. Just a couple of laps later, Andrew Schartner, a former Mr. Pathfinder Bank SBS, was on the move as well, pulling to the low side of the 17 of Timmy Garou down the front straight as Craig Harris, Brian Sobis, and Russ Brown all do battle further back. Remember, Brown continues to lead the SBS standings. Bruce would next make his move under Pitcher into the third corner, leaving the lane open for Andrew Schartner to do the same as well. Coming down the front stretch and into corner number 1 at the same time, you see further back, Sobis able to make the low side move on Garou. Well, Jack Patrick watching Brian Sobis making his way through the field. He would check in as well, also pulling to the low side of the Garou number 17 as Harris and Brown continue to do battle. Both of those drivers, of course, in the top 5 in the SBS Championship. Harris, the defending champion. While everybody else was doing battle further on back, Danny Apt was simply cruising. The rookie in the number 57 running laps of 19.2 seconds out in front of the field. He would build over a full straightaway advantage on the field. The last thing he wanted to see was a yellow flag. Well, unfortunately, that would happen on lap number 30. As Pitcher, Sobis, and Patrick battle into corner number 3, the 9 and the 6 come together. Sobis would go around, Patrick would tag the inside hub rail, and that would end the day for both of those competitors. That would give Mike Bruce one last-ditch effort with 5 laps to go on Danny Apt. Trust me, he gave it everything he had, pulling to the low side. Into corner number 1, just barely decides to tuck out of that one. Made a little bit of contact with the 57, but not enough to send him around. Danny Apt simply slammed the door shut going into corner number 1 as he was looking for that $1,500 payday and the title of Mr. Pathfinder Bank SBS. He would drive away with it. The first rookie since Dan Ferlito to win the Mr. SBS title in 1999. Danny Apt would be your winner over Bruce, Schartner, Pitcher, and Harris in the top 5. Jason Simmons, Rob Pullen, John Tesserario, Chris Proud, and Cameron Rowe would round out the top 10 finishers as Danny Apt pulls the CPS Electric number 57 into Turning Stone Resort Casino Victory Lane for his first career win at Oswego Speedway in just his 8th start.
Speechless. I don't even know what to say. The car was really good. We made some adjustments for the feature, and the car was great. I don't know, that's awesome. It's awesome. I don't even know what to say. I was leading 30 laps, and nobody showed me a wheel, and I seen the caution come out. Well, the caution come out with 5 to go, and I was going for it. He got into me a little bit, but hey, he's going for his first win too. Luckily, I was on this end of it, so.
I knew the speed drive was going to make it interesting coming off of 4, and felt like I got underneath him. I thought maybe he saw me, and at the last second, I didn't think he did, and I think I started to back out. I should have wrecked or checkered it. That was my idea now that I'm out, but Danny Apt, he's rookie. He's doing a heck of a job. Got a great car. He got a great crew and team behind him. So congratulations to Danny Apt on his first feature win. We're gonna talk about doing something for the few rest of the weeks because our engine's completely cooked. So we're gonna figure out something. Try something. We're gonna try working out something.
The flights up are a little shorter. It seems like now. It's no, that was a heck of a night. I remember the first win I had as a rookie. So that's got to be awesome for Danny, and congrats to him, and congrats to Mike too. He ran well. Really, all 3 of us have struggled the first part of the year, so hopefully this is our part of the season, the end half here.
Danny Apt, of course, would go on to be the Nice Price Auto Sales up-and-comer on Saturday, as well as the Sherwood Racing Wheels lap leader. John Tesserario picked up the DNS Landscaping Hard Charger Award, while Jeremy Pitcher was your White's Car Care 4th place finisher. Looking now at the series standings, Brown has a 42-point edge now on Jason Simmons, who moves up into the runner-up spot ahead of Mike Bond. J.J. Andrews continues to ride 4th with Craig Harris in position number 5. The count countdown to Budweiser Classic Week is on at Oswego Speedway. Saturday, August 10th, it's JP Jewelers Night at the Races, featuring the second Entergy Driver Autograph Session, plus help support ovarian cancer awareness. It's all this coming Saturday as we continue to count down to Budweiser Classic Week. It's JP Jewelers Night at the Races this Saturday at Oswego Speedway. Inside Oswego Speedway is brought to you by Novelis, not just aluminum, Novelis aluminum. Pathfinder Bank, local community trust. Eagle Beverage, we bring the beer to you. Oswego Bike Fest, riding, rocking, and racing Oswego Speedway. And by Best Western Plus Quality Inn and Suites of Oswego. The 27th annual $10,000 to win Mr. Novelis Supermodified would see Brian Sweeney and Dan Connors start from the first row, both drivers looking for their first career win. In fact, both drivers in row number 2 were also looking for career win number 1 in Brandon Bellinger and Tim Devendorf. And we know that this race has been known for providing first-time winners in the past, but unfortunately in this one, we couldn't quite get past lap number 1 as Brandon Bellinger, Michael Muldoon, and Tim Snyder all come together in corner number 3, and that creates a log jam as you see Timmy Jedrzejek going for a wild ride up and over 2 or 3 different cars. Getting a look now at the slow motion replay into corner number 3. And you can see Bellinger gets a tick sideways, Muldoon gets into the back bumper, Snyder gets into the right rear, Snyder with a hard ride into the outside foam, and unfortunately Muldoon and Bellinger, by the way they came around, it just clogged up the track. Nobody had anywhere to go. That would force red lights to come on in order to get the racetrack cleared as you get another look at it here into corner number 3, and you get an idea of just how quickly the lanes close up here at Oswego Speedway with nowhere to hide with that inside hub rail and that outside steel wall. We also got to look at it from the inside of corner number 3, and this one really gives you a good look at the angle of which Timmy Jedrzejek flew through the air up and over the 7 of Sitterly, the 55 of Champagne, and the 50 of Dave Gruhl as Ray Graham climbs out from behind the wheel. Pat Lavery, Keith Champagne, and Timmy J overlooking the damage as well. Tim Snyder clearly dejected, and Otto Sitterly too would actually get out from behind the wheel of the 7 machine, looking at the damage on the front end of the 7. In all, only 4 cars would drop out of the event at the conclusion of that accident, and eventually we would get a restart, and it would be Connors and Sweeney checking away from the field early on, with Tim Devendorf riding 3rd, Davey Hamilton, and then a Coach Racing number 6 and 4th, Jerry Curran right there in that 5th spot, driving car number 24. And after watching Hamilton 2 weeks ago in the ROC 100, most figured he was sitting there just biding his time, but he would not have a chance to do so as the power plant and then a Coach Racing number 6, Let's Go, going into corner number 3. Hamilton does a pretty good job of just locking that car up, spinning it to a stop. No other damage on the car, but Hamilton would be done for the day. When the green flag came back on, once again we saw Joe Gosick and Otto Sitterly working their way through the field from back there in row number 6. Gosick would first make the move on the Abled 05, followed quickly thereafter by Sitterly and that number 7 machine as he does the same, but just a few laps later, Gosick began to pick up a vibration in the front end of the 00. He would slow down considerably for about 4 or 5 consecutive laps down into the 22nd bracket. He would fall all the way back to about position number 9 at this point, but eventually Gosick would pick up the pace and rejoin the fight in the number 00 machine as Abled and Jedrzejek find their way by Gosick into corner number 1. Well, as Dan Connors approached lap traffic right around the halfway portion of the 75-lapper, it gave Brian Sweeney the opportunity he needed to duck down to the low side in corner number 3, a daring 3-wide move into that 3rd corner. Brian Sweeney, who has been out of Supermodified racing for over 10 years, now leads the Mr. Supermodified event looking for career win number 1, and he would quickly check away in this one, garnering almost a 2-second advantage on the field. And that began to alarm Otto Sitterly just a touch. He knew the speed of those new Style Hawk chassis in clean air, so he quickly began to mount a charge of his own, working under Jerry Curran. Next, 1 lap later, would dive to the inside of Connors in the 01 into corner number 1. And just like that, As Sweeney is tucked in behind the Clayton Brewer number 23, Sitterly is able to close a 1.7 second deficit in less than a lap, closing up on the back bumper of the Sweeney machine down the front straightaway and into corner number 1. And just like we saw before with Sweeney taking the lead from Connors, Sitterly is able to use the lap car to his advantage as Sweeney pushes high in that third corner, dips down to the inside, coming out of corner number 4. Sweeney, though, doing a really good job of battling back on the top side, trying to find a lane by both Brewer and Sitterly now, coming out of corner number 2. But Sitterly drops the hammer down the backstretch. He goes 3 wide this time into corner number 3, takes the race lead right at lap number 44. Sweeney was able to keep touch in that 3 car for quite a few laps. It looked as though maybe when Sitterly got into lap traffic of his own that Sweeney may be able to make a move. But Sitterly caught that traffic pretty quickly, and in veteran fashion, Sitterly was able to work the 50 of Dave Gruhl, the 5 of Tim Devendorf, and the 52 of Dave Danzer in pretty quick order in order to extend his lead in this $10,000 to win Mr. Novelis Supermodified feature event. He had a little bit of trouble with Gruhl at first, gave Sweeney a bit of a look to the low side, but he was able to work his way through and move out in front of this one. Meanwhile, further on back, Connors got stuck in traffic just a hair coming out of corner number 2. That left the high lane open for Jerry Curran to dive to the outside into corner number 3 and move to a podium position. Jerry Curran with a good run in the Ramada Inn number 24 pulls up into 3rd. But at the end of this one, it would be all Otto Sitterly. Win number 3 on the year, his second Mr. Supermodified victory and the first for Nicotra Racing. Sweeney held on to second, Curran in 3rd, Connors in 4th. Timmy Jedrzejek, despite his high-flying act, was able to come back with a 5th place finish over Pat Lavery and Joe Gosick in the 00.
No, I didn't really think about it too much at the time. I didn't know how much damage we had, and I got out and crawled around. It was just basically a nose wing and a little bit of bent up sheet metal. Car changed actually a couple times. It seems like after the red, the car sort of came alive. Before that, I was pretty loose getting into the turn, and I had to put a lot of front brake in the car, and it actually just got tighter and tighter, so I tried to get some rear brake in it at the end, and I was pretty concerned with Sweeney in the open track because the New Hawk cars are really fast on their own, so I didn't want them to get away from me. And, Brian's been out for a number of years. He's doing a heck of a job there, but, to go through lap traffic like that, I knew that was the place I had to get him.
It was really slippery at the end, but we knew from practice yesterday, and we found a whole bunch out shock-wise, and about 5 weeks ago, we lost all forward bite in this car, and we have it back, and now that we've actually completed 2 features, which isn't very impressive for the year, we got a lot more information to work with, so I think we'll be in good shape for the rest of the season.
The car was good. It was, it was neutral. It'd stay on the bottom, but every time we tried to push a little harder, she got loose on me, so we just tried to ride it out and avoid all the accidents. We got away with it this week.
With Sitterly's victory and Gosick's issues, Otto now has a 32-point edge on Gosick for the Novelis Supermodified Championship.